Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Garage Party. And on today's episode, as you once again probably saw from the title, it is the second part to the Malibu motor. And today, I'm going to try to get all the pistons in, and all of, and if I can, I'm going to get the camshaft in. But the main thing is getting these in, getting them torqued correct, and then re-torquing the crankshaft and the main bearings. Because, well, that's really important, and so is the camshaft. But like, if I can get this together, then that's some pretty good progress. And as the week goes on, we can do top end stuff, because then technically the bottom end will be done. So I'm gonna go ahead and get set up, and yeah, let's go ahead and just get right into it. All right, so this light I have is very bright, as you can tell, but that doesn't matter. So I have it all set up. To do this, you need one of these, a ring compressor. You can get them at like Harbor Freight. I forget how much this one was, but I know it was cheap. And the way you do it is you set it up to be on the piston. We'll take number 5 out. I'll show you guys closer. But yeah, so you take the piston, and then you slip it over. And you want to make it sure that the skirt is left open, so that way something can slide in the hole. And you just take it and just crank it, nice and easily. You don't want it too loose, I guess. I guess tighter the better. You want to make sure it's nicely even on there. There you go. And then we will take off the rod caps. Maybe we might take them off. Just like that, we have it off. Now you don't want to forget which way it went. On these ones, for the 3.1, they actually have little tabs on them right there, and that tells you that actually goes to the front. A good way to do it is to actually stamp them. If you don't have something to stamp them with, do your best and just write on them with a Sharpie, just on the flat part here. You do have to be very careful doing that, and make sure you pay attention as you continue to do things, because that will rub off. But a good way to know which way is the front after you have the pistons all together, that's if you do them this way and replace the heads and stuff, is most of them, like on these, have a little dot on them. So the dot is down here, so that signifies that is to the front of the block. So that means this would go like so. But to get them in, you gotta take this off first. And yeah, so I'm gonna go ahead and show you. I'm gonna start it in there, and I'm gonna show you how to, kind of get it in there easily. And then once I show you this one, I'm gonna go ahead and do the other 5, and then I'll, teach you the torque specs and everything else. All right, so one thing to do is to make sure the crankshaft, where the bearing's going to sit. Actually, that's something I do actually have to do first, is put the bearings on, because that would be absolutely useless if I didn't. So I'm gonna have to do that first, completely space that one, and that would have been really, really bad if I continued forward. But either way, you want to get oil on the cylinders, on the cylinder wall, so that way when you do go to put this in, it slides in nicely and doesn't damage anything, and it really just helps. So while it soaks in oil now, I'm going to do this bearing, just so that way I could show you how it goes in, and we'll get this one on, and then I'll just go through, do all the other bearings, and then put them all together. Okay, so once you finish struggling opening the packages for the bearings, this is what they look like. They look, a lot like the old ones, but new and nice. So in this case, I should have 12, which I do. I made sure to count. And the way you do this is you'll end up just basically, you take it and you push it in there, and you make sure that there's no like bad movement, and you make sure it's nice and snug in there, and you want to make sure it's nice and even with this surface on both sides, because that's how you really know you got it in all the way. These are a little bit easier to do than the main bearings. So yeah, the next step to this, actually, because you don't put them in dry. If you put them in dry, well, that's just bad. Typically use assembly, like a assembly lube or whatever. I don't have that, I should have bought it, but I don't have it. So the next bet, you know, the next good thing to do, I did this also in the Ranger and it worked, but I used like stop leak as well because it's really thick stuff, but this will work as well. I mean, my dad used to build motors all the time too, and he said him and his brother, so my uncle used to do this, and typically they would just set them in like a bucket of oil. There's oil in there, not nuts, and you just let them soak, but I don't really think you need to let them soak. So what you'll do is you will put the bearing completely in the oil, and then you will take some extra oil on your gloves or whatever you decide and get it all up in there. It's probably easier to do this one first. So you take a little bit, and I can't really see what I did, but I just kind of dip my hand in it, and you just kind of get some nice oil in there. I believe this is 530 mixed maybe with a quart of 1030. I don't know. I don't remember. But yeah, you get a nice coat in there. Another tip also to doing this is with this type of stuff, assembly lube and oil, when putting a motor together, you can never be too generous with it. It's always good to have a little bit more than a little bit less. So then you just take the bearing and you soak that in oil as well. And you make a mess on your basement floor, but it's okay. You'll clean it up later. At least that's what you'll tell your parents. And then you just take it, like so, and push it in the groove. Now, another good way to know how the bearing goes is on the caps themselves. They have these little grooves, and the bearing will have that as well. That's how you know you put it in right. So you just want to make sure you give it some good, nice, you know, firm pushes, and get it as flat in there as you possibly can. And there you go. This one is a little high on that side. Now sometimes they can be tricky to get in there. There is no right or wrong one in the kit. I mean, they're all the same. So you just gotta really just try to massage it in there the best you can. Give it some good force. But this one seems to be seated all right. It's sticking over a little bit more than I'd personally like it to. But it also just seems to be seating like it doesn't want to change position at all. And also, you know, you can pull on it this way, get the bearing seated into the sides, just kind of massage it down. I think it'll be okay though. And just like that, that's the cap done. All right, I want to show you guys one more quick thing before you start getting that in there. Now, just like the bearings, when it comes to the actual, I guess, lobe itself, I don't know, what do you call these? Journal, crankshaft journal. You want to make sure you do the same thing with the oil or assembly lube. You want to get plenty on there. That's why I have this drain pan underneath it. Well, drip pan, I should say. But you want to make sure you soak this in oil as well, so that way when you come down, it's just not metal on metal. You know, it's got a nice oil barrier. But yeah, I'm gonna go ahead and slam those into place. Well, this one at least. So now what you'll do is, while this piston is up here, you might want to think about taking the other ones out that surround it. When you do this, actually, you will take the rest of them out, and you'll see why. But yeah, so you'll take it. You'll want to get it started slightly in there. And a thing to look for is the studs that come out of the bottom, because if you don't pay attention to them and you don't put like a rubber hose on them or a plug on the end of them, then it can gouge the journal. So while you do this, make sure you watch for that. So far, the few times that I've done this, I never had a problem with it. I haven't put those on, but it would be smart to, but we don't, you know, think that way. Okay, so what you'll do now is, like I said before, this mallet has a rubber handle. This is definitely preferred over anything else to hit these down with. I don't know what other people use. I don't know if they actually make a tool to tap them with. I don't know. But this has always worked. I did this in my shop class, and then I've done this before here. So you just kind of take it and you just easily, see how it kind of sunk itself in there? and then you make sure to start to tap it slowly. Now the thing for the ring compressor is that it compresses the rings so that way when you install it, it doesn't get caught and it doesn't break on them, and the rings don't snap. So that's very important. Otherwise, you'll have binding, you'll have issues, you'll have broken rings, and then you'll just want to throw it in the garbage. But you want to nice and easy, and this one does not want to go in. That's why. So another thing, if it stops going in, don't hit it harder. I know that's, instinct, but don't. You'll just ruin it more for yourself than anything else. What you want to do is you want to assess the situation. And in this case, bottom retainer ring for the oil ring slid out from the bottom. So if I could ever get this undone, there we go. So yeah, it popped out. So when it pops out, it's not going to actually do anything. Oops, that was a bit much. Oh, it's still going. Cool. So then you just have to reset, get it nicely in there. I believe it grabbed them all, so we're going to try this again. There it goes. Okay, and then before I hammer it at least one more time, you want to double check, make sure it's all good. You want to look under there to see where the studs are. And I know you couldn't see me for a second, but you just want to make sure they're not going to hit the actual journal. So far I'm looking good. When you do this though, you want to make sure the journal is as far away from the piston as you can make it. It popped out again. Well, that's a bummer. Once again, you have to set it again. And luckily, I didn't try to hit it, because then my top compression ring would have just killed itself. So you take it from the bottom and you just push it a little bit. Actually, I might be able to save this, which is good. I mean, I don't have to take it all the way out. But yeah, now I can just recompress the top ring itself. Like so. Let me take my mallet again. Hopefully. Maybe? Did it go in? Are we hitting the journal? No, we're not hitting the journal. Just like that, and your piston is in. So now comes the fun part. Now we actually can get it guided onto the journal through here, because now all the rings are compressed. It's fully in the cylinder walls, and then you just guide with your fingers over top of the journal. I believe I've just put this one at bottom dead center, which is fine, that's no problem. And then what I will do is I'll take my cap, and my two nuts, slide it over the journal, and then just get the nuts on there ever so loosely. But yeah, so you want to get it on there like so. You still want to rotate the motor and the crankshaft and everything. And if there's any binding, you'll know that, hey, cylinder 5, or whatever cylinder you decide to do first, there's something wrong. Sorry that the phone ran out of space. But as I was saying though, but yeah, so you want to make sure the rings don't bind or anything. So I'm going to remove the rest of the pistons, rotate it by hand. And then from there, I'll just keep going. I might torque this one down and I'll tell you the foot pounds and everything, maybe after I get them all done. But yeah, that is how you install your piston. Alright, so here it is. It's got 5 cylinders completely in it. And then it's got number 4, which is giving me tons of issues, because each time I put the compressor on it and go to hit it in, the very bottom ring actually pops out and then it doesn't go in. I've been trying to fight that since actually yesterday, because today's a different day from the last clip because I stopped because I thought it was binding and I didn't like it, so I had my dad look at it today when he got home from work, and it was just because the cylinders were way too dry and everything, so it is soaked in oil now, which is good. So I'm actually going to show you. You take the number 4 out because that thing is stupid. And you get your 16 millimeter. You can use a 3/8. That's how easy this should be to spin. Very, well, decently easy. I mean, at this point, there's going to be more friction in it because I have 5 cylinders in here, but should still be relatively easy. Medium force, I mean, if even. Just very nice and easy flowing. You can see 1, 3, and 5, and then 2 and 6. But yeah, those are all in. They torque down to 15 foot-pounds and then rotate to like 75 degrees. They're at least all torqued down to 15 foot-pounds. And I believe that's going to be all, though. I was going to do the cam today, but instead, I'm going to wait till I get this in. And then in the next video for this, it'll be cam, hone out the lifter ports, and then probably all the core plugs and stuff still have to go in. And depending on time, then I'll put all the new sensors we have for it to go in and whatever else. Alright, so thanks again so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed, and if you did, go ahead and leave a comment if there's something you want to comment. Subscribe if you want to, and go ahead and also like if you want to. Like I've said plenty of times before, I can't tell you what to do, but it would be much appreciated. So I believe that's going to do it for today's episode. Like I said, for the next one, it'll be cam, the sensors, core plugs, lifter, hone stuff, and whatever else. And also in the next one, hopefully this guy will be in. But yeah, I hope you guys, at least if you did watch this, I hope you learned something on how to build these. You do have to take your time, you have to be patient. But yeah, I'll see you next time.